for Explosive Growth Podcast, where we discuss health, wealth, success, and business. Welcome to the show. Yes, once again, February 2nd. I hope you're having a wonderful day, wonderful Thursday, and getting ready for the weekend. We're going to have a great time. I got a great guest here with us, Eckelberry, and he's going to talk to us about water, investing in water, and the huge growth opportunities that presents itself. So let's dive right in. Hey, Riggs, how's it going?
It's such a pleasure, and I love your intro, man. You are like jet set.
Thanks. I like to keep things exciting and, just bring some flavor and creativity.
For sure.
So, let's dive right in. Tell us your story and how you got involved in investing in water and what is your plans for the future and anything else you want to talk about.
Well, thank you, Morad. Well, the big picture on water is that it's mostly governmental, right? This is kind of like the phone system before the breakup of AT&T, right? It's like it was all one big chunk. And when it broke up, it created a much larger industry, ultimately the internet, so MCI, the baby bells, the internet, et cetera, et cetera. So breaking up these monopolies is very, very good for a particular sector. And if we're talking about water, we've kind of relied on, the government's going to handle it. They're going to supply the water and then they're going to clean it and it's all good. The problem is it's not all good. Right now, water is, we know there's droughts all over the place, but in addition, a lot of the water isn't treated right. And the infrastructure, even in America, is not being maintained. In the US alone, we're running currently about $75 billion a year behind. And that's a lot of money. I mean, I realize there's inflation, but $75 billion is still a lot of money and it's not being allocated. Okay. So what's the solution? If you can't maintain something, then downsize. Yeah. So the logical thing that is already happening is that businesses are coming off the central system, doing their own water management, which saves them money. I can get into that. But this also reduces the load on the municipality, which can now serve people with their existing budgets. So it's a good thing for people because, frankly, a municipal water system is all about the people. It's not about, making Intel happy. It's about making you and me happy in our homes. So let's make sure that the people who it was intended for are served. And that's done by helping businesses do their own treatment. And that's our mission.
Wow. And so how can someone get involved and invest in these projects? Well,
of course, with this monopoly, quote unquote, it was very hard. You could buy a municipal bond maybe, or you could invest in one of the big water companies like Veolia. But that's not direct investment in water projects. Think about the oil industry. In 1980, Apache Corporation created the MLP, which is basically a master limited partnership, a bucket of oil properties, which then investors could invest in. Today, it's a $300+ billion segment, and it coexists with big oil, right? Big oil, Exxon's still as big as it ever was, but the MLPs add a lot of disposable capital to get projects done, and it's open to any investor. We aim to do the same thing with water, is to basically say, we call it water like an oil well. People can invest directly in a basket of water properties. And how is it workable? Well, it's very simple. Those properties, those machines are not sold to the business user. They are put out there as a service, water as a service. So we retain, us and the investors, we retain ownership of these water projects, remain our assets, and the end user pays by the gallon. Everything's becoming, blah, blah as a service. Well, now it's water as a service.
Okay. And so where you saying there's a big shortfall in water, $75 billion shortfall? What do you mean by that?
Every year, that's the funding that is not happening to maintain. So you have the other side of that problem is that the operation and maintenance costs, the cost of maintaining the systems have been skyrocketing for years. Just like if you got your old Toyota Corolla, you never maintain it, and you keep throwing oil and it drains the oil. You keep putting water in the radiator, water keeps going out. And after a while, it just gets worse and worse and worse. That's what's happening with the water systems. And we're seeing it show up in these problems that are happening in places like Flint, Michigan, Compton, California, Jackson, Mississippi, even Miami-Dade County has problems. There's problems everywhere. They're just popping up. But there's a much bigger, that's like an iceberg, right? There's a much bigger part underneath. And it's dire. I like to say that the water you're drinking from the tap, it won't kill you right away. In other words, it's sanitized, it's bleached, but it has a lot of bad stuff in it. And municipalities would love to do something about it, but they don't have the funding. And so, and they're not going to get it for some crazy reason. Washington is just not excited.
But Joe Biden passed an infrastructure bill.
$1.2 trillion, right? $1.2 trillion. Yeah. What was water? $55 billion. That was it.
Wow.
That's less than 1 year of shortfall. Mm-hmm. So $1.2 trillion gets us $55 billion.
Is that money actually going to go to water, or is that a hoax?
Well, the $55 billion is definitely attributed mostly to replacing the lead pipes that we have in places like Flint. No, it's solid money, but it's only $55 billion, whereas every single year we fall behind by 75. So help is not coming. Here's the other issue, Morad. I'm here in Pinellas County. It's super built up. Where are we going to put a sewage plant? Not going to happen, right? There's a real estate problem. And by the way, people don't love living next to a sewage plant. So where are you going to put it?
And it's sewage plant do exactly?
Well, okay. So your incoming water comes from either the groundwater or rivers or whatever, gets purified by the city and delivered to people. That's the incoming water. Well, then the water gets used and goes out as sewage, right? Mm-hmm. And whether it's industrial waste or home waste, it then needs to be cleaned and either put it back in the groundwater or dump it back in the river cleaned or the ocean, or it could be recycled. But somewhere you got to clean that water. And that is something that people don't really want to have happen next door. Like, I don't need somebody cleaning poop next door to me, right? So, and the third problem is it takes years to build these massive central systems, whereas you can go out there and put a 300 square foot unit in a brewery in a matter of 3-4 months, including all the permitting, whereas it's going to take 20 years to put up a central sewage plant. So we believe strongly that the future of water is decentralized, and that opens up the opportunity for investors to come in and go, okay, I'm going to get some royalty revenue from this machine being put in service, and the customer paying on the meter like he's used to is nothing new, right? We're all accustomed to paying for water on the meter, right? Mm-hmm. So the businesses will continue to pay on the meter. Everything's fine. But this time, instead of paying the municipality, they're paying water on demand, which is the name of our project, and ultimately the investors who have a stake in it.
So is this system going into the depths of the earth to where the streams are, or where are we finding the water?
Okay, there's 3 parts to the water management problem. The first part is the incoming water, which generally the cities do pretty well. I'm not proposing we go do a whole water exploration thing. That's not the most important problem. The second part is treating the wastewater, the stuff that comes out used. Okay. The third part is reuse, where you reuse the water on your golf course or maybe even for drinking, et cetera, right? Israel recycles 90% of its water, of its wastewater. How much did the U.S. recycle? 1%. We throw, and we have these huge droughts and we're throwing away all the water. What's up with that? It's crazy.
Only in America.
And the other thing that's going on is, listen to this, 90% of the freshwater demand is by industry and agriculture. Only 10% is individuals. Oh, so in California, we're being told to have short showers and, watch out, water in the lawn, et cetera. But we're only 10% of the demand. What about the 90%, right? And so I think that corporate America is getting a pass on it because they have the lobbyists, et cetera. It's a natural thing. But what's amazing here is that when we present them with the solution, like, hey, you can do your own water treatment, they're like, oh. and they look at the terms and go, this works out well. Why? Because when I bring the water in, I use it more than once, and I don't have to pay for that water. I already got the water, right? So for a business, it works to put in a recycling plant on site. It makes economic sense. Well, okay, so there's if you're talking about mid-range businesses, this is like $500,000 to $2 million. But remember, they're not paying that. They're paying by the gallon, a certain amount of pennies. It's pennies per gallon, right? And so it's a fully maintained system with all the expertise, fully outsourced, and you don't pay anything up front. Maybe there's maybe an engineering study, but the actual capital expense does not exist anymore. And we think that's the future. Aquatech is becoming the hot new thing. Right? You hear about it more and more. I'm here to tell you, Aquatech is the next hot thing because everything else has been, kind of.
So how do I invest in this?
Very simple. My company, Origin Clear, is a public company, and we launch these ventures. And currently we're launching Water on Demand, which is this way of bringing investors in, water like an oil well. Go to originclear.com. There's a green Invest Now button. Click the Invest Now button, has all the information, and we will then talk to you. This says there's two classes of people that invest. Number one is accredited investors. Those are the guys who get the royalties. And we have a new offering just launching now for unaccredited investors where they get stock in the Water on Demand subsidiary. Either way, it's a win-win, and you're contributing to this movement of improving water by getting businesses to do their part as opposed to squatting on the municipality.
Is this water drinkable?
It can be. When you treat your water, it depends on the more you have to treat it, the more expensive it gets, right? If I say, I'm going to make potable water from wastewater, that's a big lift. So typically people go, well, I'll reuse it for wash downs or for irrigation or for, things that don't require drinking water. Mm-hmm. So you can, but here's the problem with reusing wastewater is people don't like it. They've called it toilet to tap. Well, you say toilet to tap, how attractive is that, right? So the reality is that most recycling is going to be done for non-drinking purposes, only because of public perception and also cost. You treat it to the level where it's good enough for your lawn, basically.
Do I still want a water softener?
Okay, now let's talk about incoming water. I believe that all tap water requires purification. And to be clear, we're not addressing the incoming water. We can advise you, and we were working with a premium hotel chain that has decided to put purified water throughout their hotels. Bang. Mm-hmm. So that everything, not just that bottle on the dresser, we're talking about the shower, the kitchen, everything will have purified water. So we do deliver that. And if I'm talking to you as a home owner or home renter, you should get something, get a Brita pitcher, do something, right? Because the tap water is not going to get any better. The best is, in my opinion, to get one of those under sink systems with the reverse osmosis. That's very good. And then sort of a general filtration system for your whole home. So
you're gonna install one of these systems per business?
Correct. That is it. Just like how you remember back in the day, you're too young to know, but I was in the day when we had mainframes, and mainframes are highly efficient for themselves. And then the idea, wait a minute, we're going to build 1 million PCs. Well, those PCs are going to be, that's overkill. They don't need all that capacity. Turns out it's more efficient. Why? Because the PC is serving the user, whereas the mainframe is serving itself. The mainframe is there only, like if you centralize things actually become less efficient. That's kind of what we've learned in the last 30, 40 years, which is that decentralization is more efficient. Why? Because it's more adaptable. If Morad wants to sit on his computer and really, really bang on it and get a lot of use out of it, he can. But if he wants to leave it idle and go off for a week, that's okay too. But with a central system, he'd have to schedule everything and make sure that he was in line and had the queuing and all that. So we strongly, we see this as a trend. Water decentralization is happening, and we are accelerating it by providing capital-free solutions to businesses and rewarding the investors for being part of it.
Fantastic. Any final thoughts as we wrap up?
All right, just remember that at the end of the day, it's about social justice for the people. We want people to be healthy, which means assist the businesses to get off the central system. Now the cities can start focusing on the people who deserve the best water possible.
Would this work for single family homes?
It will. We're not currently in that space only because it's a mass market. There's some very good vendors. For example, Fuji Water has a very good system, but it's early still. It's a lot of expense, and it's not the time yet. We need to focus, since 90% of the demand is businesses. Well, let's focus on them first, right? That's what we're doing.
Yeah. Well, hey, I appreciate your time. This was great. This was a great interview. Thank you for enlightening all of us. We'll be looking forward to water on demand. And if there's anything I can do for you, please let me know.
All right. It's a pleasure. Let's check in 6 months and I'll tell you how it went.
Okay. I look forward to it. Thanks,
Fantastic.
Rick.
Thank you, sir.
Hope you all enjoyed that for explosive growth. That was a great session with Riggs Eckelberry. And we'll see you here next time. Same bat time, same bat place. Can't wait to see you.